lot of people after the call. So once again, warm welcome. This is the ninth series. And just want to tell you, this is not a recommendation to buy a stock. This is not a recommendation to buy Interactive Brokers. Yes, we are long on Interactive Brokers, so we do not give any stock advice. This particular session is purely educational. You can take this as a brand building exercise. You can take this as to understand how deep we go in about a company. We're also learning every day, and investing in the stock market is part science and part art. And you can never know 100% about any company, and that is the reason we have always 10 to 15 companies on the portfolio. Now, what exactly these earning calls are? So every company have a public listed company have a quarterly earning released. A big companies generally have quarterly earning released, and anybody can know about these companies, what's happening in these companies, about their numbers, financial numbers, their future plan, etc., by seeing the earning report and the management discussion section of the earning report. So what we call it, very simple thing. For example, 3 days back, market had a wild swing and market went down, I think 5-6%. At least our portfolio went down 5-6% a week ago. And then yesterday, the stock market, our portfolio again went up by 5-6%. So we were unmoved. Neither we bought anything nor we sold anything, because these kind of movement in the stock market really do not deter us. We derive our knowledge and our wisdom from legendary investor Peter Lynch, who has given 30% track record. He has delivered 30% track record for roughly 13 odd years in Fidelity. Mr. Warren Buffett himself, who in the first inning of his, when he was running Buffett Partnership Limited, that's exactly essentially we also want to do. He delivered 30% return for the roughly 13 years from 1959 to 1957 to 1969. Then in the second role, when he established a company called Berkshire Hathaway, he has made roughly 1800 times for all the individual investors. In fact, our next session, we are going to dissect recent earning of Warren Buffett and recent earning call of Warren Buffett, which has just happened in Omaha, and it was in the night. So I think it will be a great time to read about him and tell all of you that how he thinks about the economy and the stock market, whether they are lucrative at today's valuation or they are overvalued. But today, what we are trying to tell all of you is that please understand that every stock has a business. We discuss a lot about stock market and their movements, but we never discuss the businesses. And we have why we talk about these businesses, because these businesses are the great point where the wealth is created. So let's say I bought a stock, for example, let's say we name a stock called Nikola. I bought a stock at, let's say, $3 or $10, and I sold at $20. Now I understand that you will say I'm very happy and I made money, but it's purely because of luck. Because in what company did in a matter of 3 to 6 months that you made roughly 300% or 400% in the stock? We call it wealth transfer, because we are not a short-term investor. Because first of all, stock market is not for short-term player. So we invest for a longer horizon of minimum 5 years. Mind it, I said minimum 5 years. That doesn't mean you will not make money in 5 years. Many of our investors have made money in the first 3 years itself. And this is the safest business in terms of investing for anybody, though it has highly volatile. But if with a 5 year horizon, there is a very remote chance that somebody will lose money unless and until there are external circumstances, which is going to take everybody's profit down. So every company releases a quarterly earning, which tells you about what company is doing, what company has done the last quarter. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So we go to Interactive Brokers website, which is this. There is something called investor relation. So I will just search investor relation, and I got it here about us. I'm sure you all can see my screen. I click on it. When I click on it, I will get, so the brokers, the financial brokers are required to, required to release their monthly brokerage matrix, which is a great way to know what's happening. It is similar as the auto sales number, which every automotive company, listed automotive company, also declares on their website. Like company like Tata Motors or Geely, they all declare their monthly volumes of cars on their website. So that's a monthly brokerage matrix of how many accounts they have opened, how much, what is a monthly DART. I'll come to all those jargon. Then they have annual reports, which you can see here. They have press release. Lot of companies also do an earning release where basically they come on, they organize this earning release, and this is joined by a lot of analysts. So we will just, this particular session which we have organized is about this earning release and how to interpret it. So it is not always the earning release, it is actually the language in the earning release, how they talk to their analysts, that's most important. Now, this is the earning release of the last quarter, which has just been announced. And we have edited for you with our comments so that you can understand very well what we are going to talk about. So let me see if you can see this. I think this is visible. Now, this is the Interactive Brokers Q1 2021 results. Q1 means from January 1st, 2021 to 31st of March 2021. They released it on April 20th. And this is not a, this is basically a webcast, which companies like Seeking Alpha and Motley Fool and even their website, the company's website itself, either present in the recording form or you can get them as a transcript also. So I'm a slow learner, so I just believe in reading same thing again and again, even after listening to the call. So this is the earning call transcript. Why I'm taking the example of Interactive Broker, there are multiple reasons. Interactive Broker is also a custodian we use for our own business where we invest, through which we invest. We also own the stock. So it is great way for us to understand how the company is doing. Let me also disclose to you that we have already made roughly 90% return on this company and we're holding it. Contrary to the popular belief that once you make 15-20%, you should sell this company or any company, we are holding it. And we still feel that there is a lot of runways left. So now coming to the structure of earning call, you can see the people who have attended from the management side. We also talk to these people from time to time when it is possible and we do not understand the business. Thomas Peterfy, this guy is the chairman, and he is one of the most important person on this company. He is the man. It is a 60-year-old dream. In the last 40 years, he has taken this company from scratch to $30 billion company, which has $9 billion in cash. It is one of the world's largest growing platform. Let me tell you, their profits for this year is even higher than the second largest Swiss bank in the world. And on the continuation basis, they are after the second largest private bank of Switzerland. So this company is growing with a huge margin in terms of their net profit. Having said that, they have a very low employee cost because it's a technology company and everything which can be automated, they are automating. And the best thing, the reason why they're growing is they're passing on their benefits which they are getting from the exchange or the brokerage houses to the clients. And that is the most important thing why we have left private banks. We do have private banks on our custodian platform, but we have left private banks and we ourselves have moved to Interactive Brokers. Now, after Charles Schwab, this is the second largest broker in the world. Now, how you can, if you want, let's say you want to buy a stock for, I don't recommend it, but let's say you want to buy a stock and you want to make some money. What you can do is a very simple thing. You can see the analysts who have been present that day in this call. So you can see Goldman Sachs and KW and Piper Sandler and Jefferies and Wells Fargo of the world. Then what you can do, you can just Google and you can write there, for example, let's say Goldman Sachs Interactive Broker and the price target. So we did that particular thing and we found that the analysts are happy with the performance and the earning call. And they have raised the price target of this share from 73 at the time when the share was, or maybe Goldman Sachs would have given a $73 price indication. And now they have increased it to $83. today, and I think as we talk, the price is 67, 68. And the reason they have given is, there is a very good reason they have given: society's lending and higher margin balances and solid cash balance growth. It could be a good way of looking at for some people who would like to buy the stock at a price which is definitely giving them good margin of safety. Now, what is margin of safety? You there could be an error when you buy a stock and the price can go down and stay there for 6 months. So you might lose that 6 months. So once you buy the stock at a, let's say, 20% discount from the intrinsic value concept, that what is the true value of that stock, you might not lose money. And I think a lot of us who are sitting here, whether they make money or not, they want to make sure they don't lose money. So from there, we can see that if somebody is buying at below 73 or 70, is at least in a good margin of safety. We don't look at it really in a long term, but from the buying perspective, we might look at it, because once it will cross 83, we will not sell it. That's not what we do. I'm just trying to tell you how you can figure out a simple fundamental, that whether the analysts are bullish or bearish on the stock after the earning call. Now let's move forward. It's general operator thing, question and answer, and then somebody comes on the call. So Nancy has started the call, and she talked about 2021, etc. And then now let's come to the crux of the earning call. So I repeat myself, we are not discussing earning presentation, or let's say the earnings, which is a very static thing. We are discussing an earning call transcript, which is a very dynamic thing. And the main part of this earning call is the question answers. And from that, we will figure it out whether we should keep the company, should we hold the company, or should we sell the company, or should we keep the company or keep buying more for the future. Now, look at this. This lady is saying that I have never seen this kind of spectacular quarter in the last 50 years. And those 50 years were belong to Thomas, who was he the chairman. And this is one thing which is basically saying that the company is there for last 50 years. They've been growing. So this is not a point to book a short-term gain. When a company can grow at these kind of atmosphere, at such a spectacular growth rate, which we'll discuss just now, is there any point selling the company? Let's look at for this company. There must be something unique that they are doing great even in this kind of pandemic. I forgot to mention, I have a lot of sympathy for and my prayers to people who have COVID or their parents or family are suffering. And this is a difficult time for us also. But now let's coming back to the agenda. Now, first, that it seemingly happened in parallel and in tandem across all geographies around the globe. And second, that the feverish activity appeared to be led much more by individual investors than the institution. So this is telling us that this particular earnings are coming more because of individual investors and not the institutions, because they are sitting at home, they're opening the accounts, and they are influencing the trading behavior, or they are doing a lot of trading. Now, this particular thing which I have around it for you. It's telling that tomorrow, if we are more wired through the wireless connections, this particular company will be more benefited because of the 5G impact, because this business is a business which can be done on internet. It's a pure technology play. So more electronic connectedness will increase in the world. This company will be a beneficiary. And I think we can't go back now. We have to only go forward to 5G or 10G. And this is a positive sign for this company. Yeah. Now, the company itself is saying that we believe that what has happened was a sudden growth, and now it will be over. So that's a good quality of a management, where management, generally this is like a marketing call, but the management is saying, no, this is one time growth, and we should go back to our historic returns of 20% account growth. So how this company grows, they keep opening the accounts, like we all have our accounts there. So they have been historically growing their account by 20%. So this company has grown the account by roughly 70% in the last quarter to this quarter. They are now saying that this will be 20% because people are now out in the open. Like in the US, we know that the lockdown is over. In Europe also, I think the lockdown is somewhat curtailed. I have not much idea. China, we all know. India has a pathetic situation right now. But as this will become normal, people who have opened the account, they might not come back so easily. That's why management is saying that there will be a 20% growth and not this kind of growth which has happened. So this is a very conservative sign of a management which is not giving a rosy picture. That's very good, because we all believe that if I will tell you 50% will be given to you in a year, and if I deliver 45, everybody will say that I'm an over promising fund manager. So similarly, this company where people are investing as a shareholder, they should be very happy that the company is giving them a conservative growth estimate and not a very high growth estimate. But let me tell you, in my opinion, they will definitely beat it the way they are now capturing the whole market. One second, my Adobe PDF is gone. Yeah, yeah. Sorry for the interruption. So now, how many accounts do they have? They have ended this quarter with 1.3 million accounts, which is an increase of over 565,000 accounts, or you can say 74% from the last quarter of the same quarter of the last year. This is an amazing increase in terms of growth any company can achieve. And it's a 74% growth. So definitely it's a phenomenal quarter. We can all see it. And they now, this is something very important. They are saying we saw account growth in all client segment, in all geographic region. This tells me, because a lot of customers come and tell me that we need diversification. We need to have some companies in India, some in China. So my portfolio is diversified. We need to understand that this company is listed in the US, but the way they are saying the business is growing, it is across the world. So in the future, we'll just read from where the growth is coming right now. So what I'm trying to say, that this is the safest company as of now. What I can see is that it is growing across all client segment. We'll come to know what those client segments are, and in the all geographic region, which is like Middle East and China and Hong Kong and India and Russia, etc. Now, uh, in fact, accounts grew nearly in three geographic regions, and America, Europe, and Asia. They're a big geographical region. Client equity, this is very important. So, if they were having 150 or 60 billion dollar odd as a client equity earlier, now they have 330 billion dollar under their belt. So that's a amazing growth, because more the money, more the income. Now let's go to the next section, and they say that the customer base has grown and darts have also rose per account. Now, what is dart? Now, in retail business, they say that they basically measure their growth by per square foot sales on a particular shop. Similarly, dart is daily average revenue traded. So how many average revenue traded on a daily basis? That's how they calculate dart. One more example I'll give you. This is one is the per square foot sale, and one more example we can take is that let's say, for example, okay, so let me come back to on that. So dart is a main criteria for any stockbroker to tell you how much are they growing. Now dart stands at $3.3 million. That is the first quarter where they have landed. So $3.3 million dart, which is 128% over the last year, and 57%. So not only they have grown from the last quarter of this year, they have also grown from the last year same quarter. Now dart has become 622 per account, which means average per account they are earning $622. So every customer which is coming on an average basis, they are earning 622. So you can calculate 1.325 million into $622, which is roughly what they're earning. And main business, this is basically a business of, let's say, brokerage, this particular business of brokerage. But generally in the future, all the brokers will make more money out of their net interest margin, which is like lending and borrowing, the how the banks make money. So every big broker, what we have understood as, mainly our bank, The banks make money by borrowing and lending. Their main money is earned through that. And even brokers have a sure shot money coming from that. All these big banks like Swiss banks of UBS and Julius Baer and all, they all want to make a lot of fixed predictable income from lending to the clients. They want client to borrow against the assets and do leverage and make money, because brokerage rates are slashing day by day, and that's what we'll come to in the next section. Now they have their low cost structure. They have a higher trading activity. That's why DARTs are very high, and that's why they're 128% higher. Now let's look at their pre-tax margin. Pre-tax margin was 72% as compared to Charles Shaw, which is the biggest competitor and the biggest player, 41.6%. It's a great pre-tax margin. I'm nowhere saying that Charles Schwab is not good. I'm just saying that when the comparison is done, Interactive Broker is doing a great job. This all can be found in the earning call. Anybody can figure it out. Now, they have also non-core items, basically, which are not a regular business. From there, also their margin has reached 68%. Now, let's move forward. Now, this is an amazing figure. The company, as we talk today, is a $28 billion company because the price is down from the earning call, and they have $9.4 billion cash. Now, this is something amazing. On a $28 billion company, if I am getting $10 billion cash, net my enterprise value, or am I paying what? I'm getting a $10 billion discount. So what you see as a price of 67 or 70, you'll actually end up getting a 33% discount on this share. So first of all, we are very safe, either from the investing perspective or from the customer perspective. And now the problem is not that this company is safe or not. The problem is whether this company will make us money or not. Please understand this very important point I want to tell all of you. Sometimes people buy this blue chip company like Johnson and Johnson and Nestle and AT&T because they're very safe. Stock market, the biggest challenge is if your company is giving you dividends, if they're pretty safe, like government company like ONGC and HPC. HPC is a wrong name, let's say ONGC, or all this big oil company, Indian Oil, etc. You'll actually end up making only the dividends, or you'll only end up making the FD returns. Biggest challenge is we need people to use this cash to grow the business, because we have not given them this cash to keep it. Either they should give it cash back to us, which is like dividend, or they should utilize this cash to give us 20% return. So what people do a big mistake, that when they look at the cash, they look at the bigger name, they're very happy. Yes, you should be happy from the safety perspective, but this is also going to hamper the return, because if the cash is not deployed, then how am I going to get a return as a shareholder? So we will look into that in the later stage. Now, these people are saying we saw growth, and we saw growth not in one segment but 5 segments. So if you go back on the top, remember they said we grew in all the client segment and all the geographic region. So I'm very happy that they have 3 bigger region. So my investment in the company is diversified. Now the client segment. Now what are these 5 client segments? Now that's very important. So generally from you, let's say you are a layman and you want to still invest on your own, what you should do is should look at major revenues are coming from which particular product. Example, I'll give you of Pamper. So today in the if I just move around and I see, I think out of 10 babies, 6 or 7 are using Pampers. Now what we have to do is who sells Pamper, and then we have to go to that company and see, are they getting their business mainly from Pamper, one, and second, how fast Pamper is taking the market share. That's how the research is done. We always leave small things, because we are not trying to be perfect here. We are trying to focus on the main area of the business, and that's how the investing works. So we saw here in the 5 segment, the biggest segment is the individual customers. They are 62% of their client base, 36% of their client equity, and 54% of their commission. So basically, roughly 50% of commissions come from the individual customers. That's very important. Now, they are seeing a good record run rate. They have double the accounts in 107%, and the client equity grew by 109%. So one is the client accounts and one is the client equity, which is basically amount in those accounts. And the commission grew 66%. This is telling that people are trading more. They're trading more and more options. So obviously this is not us because we are not into this category, but individual customers have a tendency to trade. They love to trade, and that's what their bread and butter. And this is this they have also, they're also indicating here that they have got 57,000 accounts, which are very peanut in terms of the total growth from Goldman Sachs portfolio purchase. So this is really not important because they have 1.3 million accounts, and this 57,000 is nothing to waste our time on. So we can just move on. Now, why are people trading more? People are trading more because they have desire to improve on the zero interest rate environment alternative. So these are some reason why people are trading, and I'm sure pandemic is also one, and a lot of people have made some quick money also in the last 1 year. So that's what it is. Now they are saying all geographic areas we serve saw triple digit growth. In individual with close to uniform growth rate across America and Europe and Asia. Now hedge funds. Hedge funds is a big segment in the US. Let me tell you about hedge funds. Hedge funds are basically the funds which can long or short. They take $500,000 as a minimum amount. We operate as a hedge fund, by the way, but we don't short, we don't do buy options, etc. Hedge funds are like they don't take less than $500,000, and they are the main institutional investor in the US. They are a very small segment of this company. But what is telling me that in the future they will be attracting hedge fund because they have become very big now. So I will leave it that place right now because that is nothing to do. And even see, hedge funds represents only 1% of their account. It's a very small segment to look into. There's no way we should look into it. Now, proprietary trading and the registered investment advisor and introducing broker business have grown very significantly, which I will just tell you. This is a financial advisor business, which we are part of. So we are only 10% of their accounts and 16% of the client equity and 11% of their commission. So we are very small, but we grew by 21% for the last 12 months, and our customer equity grew by 66%. A lot of brokers and the individual investors are shifting to the fund managers and the registered investment advisors. So that is, this segment is showing that there's a huge growth happening here basically. Okay. Yeah. Now this is very important. We have not highlighted it earlier, but we can highlight it now for you. Now, they have also presented a comparison of 9 brokers, which is Schwab, Fidelity, Morgan Stanley, Bank of America, LPL, and Edward Jones, Stifel, and Raymond James. And what they found is that Interactive Broker is third among 9. And he's also on the dislike list, the 7th among 9 dislike list. And one more important thing is that they are one of the most improved broker over the last year. So overall, a great offering. And I'm not saying that this is the only company. One should also read Bank of America. How much are they basically on a brokerage side, or Schwab or Fidelity, and then decide which company they need to buy. But what I'm trying to tell you that even this comparison can be found. So you don't have to ask anybody. You can just open the earning call. It's a public data, and you can figure out how good are they. Now, this is a very important segment. A lot of us in Dubai have been offered these kind of accounts by the local brokers. And this is a 26% of their segment, 32% of their client equity, and 16% of their commissions. So this is an introducing broker segment where people want to trade on their own, but they do not know how to open the account, etc., etc. In my opinion, this business is going to go dead in the future. But a lot of UK brokers are using the local brokers in Dubai, and they are selling their platforms and charging a brokerage markup, which is what we don't do. But this is growing by 169%, and commission has grown by 165%. This is also one segment. So 5 segment of Interactive Brokers are proprietary trading, hedge funds, or registered investment advisor, individual investors, and this is the introducing brokers. So 5 platforms are there, 5 segments are there. Each one of them are growing in triple digit. That's what Interactive Broker is saying. Now, this is something very important my analysts forgot to highlight. They are bringing a lot of tools. They are bringing a lot of tools a lot of trade execution and custody. By the way, this platform is changing every 2 months or 1 month. We found something new have come up, and this particular tools, and they are basically making the product better. So in a product company, it's all about product. For example, when Tesla I recommended in 2019 at $50, the product was excellent. So I drove Tesla in Dubai, and I think this is an out of the world car. And even Neo, I thought so, but I cannot buy Neo in my portfolio. I have explained earlier also, but the products were fantastic. Similarly, this company is making their product fantastic. We also find a lot of glitches. We also find a lot of small errors, but every now and then when we discuss with them, we find the remedies also. What I'm trying to say, that the product is great. They have a Bloomberg TV. So for an institutional investor or an individual investor who is not through us, he can actually also access Bloomberg TV for half an hour or 1 hour. He can access a lot of market data, market feeds. They can also access to a lot of bonds basically. So earlier, if you remember, I don't know how many of you know, but if you have been investing into bonds, for bond buying, for live data, you require either Bloomberg or you require either Reuters. Reuters are charging roughly $11,000 a year, and Bloomberg is charging roughly $2,000 a year. Here comes Interactive Broker, which is charging $3 per month, and you can actually browse through a lot of bonds offering available on their portfolio. So this is pay as you go concept. If you ask me what is it, it is basically making the whole brokerage and the banking segment as a pay as you go concept. Like the earlier software companies which were charging you full amount, and now they're all charging you like a cloud computing. In my mind, as as a layman, I think of this company as pay as you go. You want to, let's say, opt to see the bond data, you can pay, let's say, $3 per month, and you can access all the bonds. You want particular, let's say, media services or research services, you can pay and get that. So this is a pay as you go model, if you ask me, and that's what I can summarize in a very layman system. So now this is done. And again, I think there will be repetition going to happen. Now, I think I need to explain this to all of you. So this is called volatility. Now, volatility increases, a broker makes a lot of money. So this is volatility, and it's a measure of the put and call ratio. I will not complicate it further. It is basically how calm an investor is. If they are not calm, the volatility increases. If they are calm, the volatility goes down. I have learned my big lessons here, which I will share next year in my annual shareholding meeting. But brokers tend to make a lot of money if the VIX goes up, because more the volatility, more the traders make money. Because generally traders make money when the stock market goes up and down. Investors make money when the market goes up. So they hold on to it. But traders, they keep buying, selling, buying, selling. So if the volatility is high, they feel fluctuation is high on that stock. So as a broker, I will also make a lot of money when people are trading more, and that's what they are trying to tell about volatility here. And they say that so average VIX has fallen from 31 in the first quarter to 23 this quarter. In fact, yesterday or day before yesterday, volatility again went up actually. Yeah. Okay. So again, same thing she's repeating. There again, she's telling about the trading volume and stock volume. Something she's also adding here about options. So a lot of people trade options and futures also. They buy options, they sell options. Even those volumes have also gone up significantly. Now they are talking about their strategy and how they are managing the dollar volumes and what is up and what is down. And so roughly the same. There is nothing, no new addition. The only thing, okay, this is very important. Now I just told you that the lot of brokers make money, and they make money when we are borrowing from them. So I don't know how many of you know what is the borrowing rate, but let me show you the borrowing rate. So this is net interest margin. I again went to, let's say, Interactive Broker website, and I will just look into, let's say, pricing, and I'll go to margin rates. So you can actually, today practically no private bank tells you how much they are gonna charge you. But here you can on your own, don't have to call anybody. So let's say you want to know how much they will they will charge you on $1 million. You can just calculate the blended rate, and it is 1.110. And I can bet you, except one or two banks, if you include the custody of these private banks, this is one of the cheapest rate available on earth in terms of margin lending. And that is the prime source. Now you saw $1 million. Now let me put $30,000 and see the difference. Now, this is what they make money at. They make money when you borrow less. Because in a private bank, first of all, you can't open the account below $500,000 or 300 or $1 million. And they do not give you minimum lending of less than $100,000. So, on a $100,000 kind of a account, you actually easily, the bank, the broker, Interactive Broker makes a lot of money, because lesser the amount, it's a capitalistic world. And that is how they make their money. I think the page is changed. Yeah. So this is the net interest which they earn. Now, how this NIM is calculated? A lot of money is lying with them as a cash, which they park into fixed deposit with different banks. So they earn interest on that. Today, of course, the interest is zero. And when people borrow money from them, they make money. The difference is called NIM. I'll repeat myself. Banks may be ऐसे होता है, even banks the same thing works. So lot of money which you park with the bank or a broker is used as this basically called liability for them. They have to give interest on that to the client. And when they take clients' money at no risk of client or a low risk of clients equity, and they lend money out, they make a gross interest margin. The difference is called net interest margin. Always when you buy a bank, you look at their net interest margin. For a traditional bank, NIM should be the highest. So HDFC Bank in India is having a 4% NIM, which is very superior at that size. And NIM is the net earning of a bank. That's how we measure the bank's earning. Here, this particular company's NIM has fallen from 1.45 to 1.26%. But what is remarkable, that US benchmark Fed fund rate have gone down from 1.25 to 8 basis point today, which is 0.08. So 125 basis point to 8, which is practically zero. And still this company is only losing roughly 0.20% on their interest income. This is very, very important, that when the rates goes down drastically, the company is still not making a full loss, because that's a big loss. Having said that, let me also tell you that Interactive Broker has lost roughly $500 million when the interest rates have gone down. Now, this is the main important thing which we are holding the stock onto, that because tomorrow when the interest rates will go up, we believe that this company will be one of the beneficiary, because a lot of people borrow and trade, and that is also mentioned in the call in the next chapter. So let's come to this. Again, one more very important point on diversification. So 0.25 or 1/4 of their customer credit balances, where basically they have given loans, are not in the US dollar. So it does not apply to all of their balances. So it could be because of that, this particular thing could be because it's all not in the US dollar. That's again a great diversification we get. And one more thing, this is very important here, I want to again highlight the new segment called securities lending and margin loans, which have become largest contributor to net interest income. This is a fundamental reason I do not invest in a commodity. And I think I need to explain this to everybody. So I don't know how many of you know that you can short the stock also. Please let me tell you. So I'm a bull. People call me nowadays a big bull. I know I'm not even a what do you call a small bull. But what I'm trying to say, that I am bullish. I never short a stock. But there are people who would like to short a stock. Short means you are selling the stock. Now question is, how will you sell the stock? Because to sell a stock, you have to own the stock first. So what you will do is you will borrow the stock from somebody who's owning the stock. So let's say this is called a stock. This is a mobile, it's a stock. Now you don't own the stock and you want to short the stock. So what you will do, you will borrow it from me at a particular interest rate, and then you can short the stock. Now how will you borrow? You will get the broker to give you the stock. Now, how do we check in Interactive Broker? And I'm sure you can check this with your bank also. So there is a screen here. It's a account. It is saying that shortable instrument search. So I can search if I want to short Amazon stock because I'm not bullish on the stock. I can roughly short Amazon more than 10 million stocks I can short. Okay, and it is changing every moment and then. And I will be receive when I will be shorting the stock, I need to pay the guy roughly 0.25% interest. Any questions so far on the shorting of the stock? Okay. Now let's go forward to the earning call. And what we will see now is they are saying our net interest income from security lending reached record $175 million, which is 182% up year over year. So where interest rates have gone down and their net interest margin has fallen, they have recovered it from something called security lending business, and it has become $175 million. How? And then we came to know that what they are doing. So what they're doing is their team is finding even difficult stocks to short, and they're presenting those stocks so that the people who want to short the stock can short. So just now I showed you Amazon. Now let's look at something else. So can you see Amazon? You can short and the lender will get 0.25% interest. Can you see this? Now if I short Denos, a company which we own again, look at the interest rate. So this is shocking actually. No, it's also good. Okay. So Denos, I can, when I will short, I need to pay instead of 0.25%, which I was paying in Amazon, I have to pay 1.9% or 96%. And I can only short up to 500,000 quantity, 450,000 quantity. Now I will short a company called Jim. It's a Zim integrated shipping company, and it's a new company. It's come in IPO. Now look at this. This is a staggering high, 17.3639%. Now, I can tell you that many of the brokers will say no if you want to short the stock. There are short sellers. Hedge funds are big short sellers. There are a lot of people who want to short and make money. So, Jim Integrated Shipping Services, which is a company just come 5 months ago, it can be shorted, but the person who will borrow to short has to pay 17.36% interest while borrowing the stock. So, and the difference of these two is basically what Interactive Brokers will make. And this business is right now booming because people want to short. And because of that reason, I think Interactive Broker has made $175 million, which is 182% up from the last year over year. So from the quarter from the last year. Now that is something substantial, great about, I will say, this particular business. Now they also have a very low decline, which we just discussed. So last year they made roughly $139 million on the net interest margin on the what do you call the when people borrow to buy stock margin interest, and this year they made $117 million. Now this is my key basically, because if tomorrow interest rate goes up, this income is going to go significantly high because they will make a lot of money on the interest income. Anyways, that's my prediction. Now, again, small things I'm not taking you, but this is a very important thing. Now, for our estimate of the impact of the next 25 basis point increase in rates and calculating the impact of rate changes, we understand that the possibility of future rate increases becomes more certain. So this company is also telling us that the interest rate will go up. Okay. Now, they also tell you if the increase is 25 basis point, they're gonna make $110 million extra in the next 4 quarters. So if it goes up by $1, 1%, then we're talking about $450 million roughly to the bottom line. Now there's more about the business. Okay. But if interest rate goes further down, or what impact they have seen, they are only seeing a decline of $37 million. So it's a great business when the interest rate goes up by 25 basis, they only lose $37 million. But if it goes up, they make $110 million. And that's a matter of inquiry. And people like me who are intensely focused on the business should ask the management that how come you are managing your treasury, that you are only losing $37 million when it goes down, but you make $110 million when it goes up. And that's all about investing. And that is the reason we tell a lot of people who are investing in one or two companies. And if you're investing this $5,000-10,000, I think you should not, because it really does not make any dent to your net worth. You're actually wasting your time. So if you invest significant amount, and for that you have to really study. So either leave it to the mutual fund managers or fund managers like us. But this goes into a company. We're still learning this company. And day before yesterday, we learned the option flow, and we found that even the company is great even when it comes to option trading. So every day and fine day, we are learning our company. But at no point of time we feel that this is a company to not to hold on. That's the whole point. Now they talk about the non-core core item, etc., and market to market, US government loss, etc. I will skip all this. Their net revenue is now $893 million for the quarter, which is 60% up from the last 8 quarter. And that is a phenomenal recovery, phenomenal delivery on the earning side. And non-core item, the net revenue is up by $796 million, which is also remarkable. So in this kind of atmosphere, on a quarter to quarter or year to year basis, if a company can grow by 37%, that's the company we want to be in, instead of a company which does not have, have the profit. Then they talk about their EPS, etc. and and the total NIM. So now total NIM has gone up 19% because of security lending business, where they have done a fantastic job. So that is again one very important point to consider. In the future, they say that broker will make very less money through brokerage. They will make a lot of money through market data and option data flow, and using the interest income. They're also entering now into the IPO businesses, which is a very small business, $6 million or $7 million. This is again of no use to see. And this is done. Yeah. Now that's very important. From a layman perspective, if you want to understand, their expenses have grown up. Why their expenses have gone up? Because they have increased the salaries. And I think, I don't know how many of us have increased the salary of our employees last year, but I have been hearing Amazon and Costco. In fact, we own the company as well. And even this company has increased the salaries. And that's a positive sign. They've also increased their headcount by 28%. So this is a very good early sign that the company is hiring, which may lead to a great business, and that may lead to a good stock price. So that is what a growth company is categorized as. Don't forget, we still have to figure out what happened to that 9.4 billion cash, which is a safety bucket, but it is also harmful to us, because if that cash is not utilizing, we will not be making good money. I'll give you a very simple example of Infosys. Before the pandemic, if you would have held the Infosys for 6, 7, 8 years, you would have not made some significant money. Infosys has roughly 30,000 crores in cash in their balance sheet, and they're one of the most conservative companies on earth. And God knows whether you will what you call double your money every 3 to 5 years. Yes, because of pandemic, they have become double in the last 1.5 years. But if the pandemic would have not happened, what would have they done? That's what we need to think about. So the problem with the cash is what company is doing with the cash, and we'll come to know. So headcount is increased. They're hiring a lot of people in client services, compliance, and software development. So software development is a key to enhance the product. Client services, I think everybody needs client services, and compliance is very important. When you make a lot of money, you need to have your checks and balances. So it's the right segment. Yes, they are a manpower. Every big company requires manpower. They also have set up a shop in Europe due to Brexit, and for that they have a $19 million one-time regulatory cost. So next year that will not be there. That's all they have mentioned. This has already been done, already discussed. Now, I think the question and answer is not started yet. Okay. Now the question and answer is starting. And this is the great time to know how analysts are reading and how the management is responding towards the future. And this is the most important part of this earning call, because rest of the things you can also find in the earning report. So I think now we have roughly what, 10-15 minutes. I'll take it on this. So see, the question which we have in mind, this guy called Craig from Credit Suisse has asked directly to the chairman of the company that, I think you have enough capital. What point you think you will either give this money as a dividend, or you when will you be comfortable? So $9.4 billion out of $30 billion is a equity capital, and Thomas is replying that we are not looking at raising the dividend. So let me tell this to a lot of people who are with us on the call. When you invest in a US stock, and if you get a dividend, it is a very bad thing, because 30% on the dividends are taxed twice, one in the hand of the company and the second in the hand of the investors. So for a non-US citizen, dividends are taxed at 30%. So dividends are not good. And if the company gives dividend, they are not able to find enough growth potential. So 1 to 2% dividend is fine. But if a company is giving 7, 8, 9% dividend like AT&T and all, they might not be able, they might not be a good investment for the stock market perspective. They could be a good company for the bond investor. The moment this guy asks for the dividend, Thomas has straightforward replied to him that, boss, we are not going to increase the dividend. We need more capital. This is telling that this company is a growth company. They want more money. He is saying we have 14 entities. So the great thing about Interactive Broker is they have 14 different companies which are broker and dealer around the world. So again, a great safety net. So, and this point, we're also converting this company to a growth company for the future, because the growth is not stalling here, because this guy still needs more money. Now, question is why he needs more money. And we also have some opportunities as far as IPOs are concerned that need capital to be able to finance. So now I think he's planning to finance the IPO. IPO, till now, we remember hedge fund and IPO were the smallest business for Interactive Brokers. But now from here onwards, he is looking to finance the IPO. That's a great move. Okay, so they will not increase the dividend. So sorry for all the dividend investors. I'm sorry, it is not going to happen. Now Craig asked his follow-up question, and he said, why are you telling that your run rate will be lower? What do you expect in Q2? Why do you think, and what is, and there also an impact of the exchange rebate? So what happened is, a broker, he charges us, and then he uses this money and he pays to the exchange, because every exchange has a fee which they charge their members, and these brokers are members, and whatever rebate they get from the exchange, Interactive Broker passes on to the client. So he's asking that question as well. So he is replying that okay, he just, so this is a good point to capture, that they are getting a rebate, but they're passing on to the client. So a very client driven company, more they will be able to execute trades, they will be reducing their brokerage charges. It's a very good point for the client that they're passing on their this thing. Now Thomas is replying to that a great deal of emphasis on trying to execute match orders in our dark pool. So how do you reduce the exchange fee? By putting the match order. So basically, institution and retail are meeting. Now, why an institution will come to Interactive Brokers? Because their retail database has gone really up. So tomorrow, if a big guy, so let me make you understand what is dark pool. Dark pool is basically block trade. So let's say one of you is a billionaire, and you, let's say, own a lot of stocks in, let's say, a company called, for example, a company called, what should I say? Okay, let's Shopify, for example. And you are offloading the stock in the market, and you're very reputed, like Warren Buffett. What will happen if your name is disclosed? People will also sell stocks with you. So you will not be able to get your target price. So you wanted to sell at $10, but eventually everybody knows that Mr. X is selling. So what will happen? All the prices, by the time you will be selling, you will get 8, 7. So you have lost roughly 20-30% on your selling price. So dark pool is where exchange allows you to not to disclose your name and do these large block deals. Now, Since Interactive Broker has got a lot of retail customers buying and selling at a time, the institutional investors can be attracted, and which I think we saw that hedge funds are now coming, and this is what they are emphasizing. In this way, everybody will be benefited, whether it's a retail investor or the institutional investor or the Interactive Broker. This will bring in now a lot of institutional investor. That's my thinking. I should clarify this with the company's management and an expert of the particular business. So that is what they are saying, and they're saying dark pool becomes a lucrative place for institutional traders to try to participate in interacting with that order flow. So if we can get more and more institutional traders into a dark pool to indicate their non-urgent orders, and then we can match them up with the retail flow as it comes in, everybody benefits and we don't have an execution cost. And that is, I think, basically it is, order will be matched among them, so they do not have to use any other broker, and since they will not use other broker, there will be a less execution cost. So this is something what, as an analyst, my team should figure it out, that what exactly is this, because in the future then what will happen, that even that cost will be saved for the investor. Now let's go to Compass Point. The guy called Chris Allen, and he's asking about that you have never discussed dark pool. First time you're discussing dark pool, and he is saying that what is the volume currently executed on the dark pool? And this guy is saying that 30% of the orders are match orders where they are not using a third party, maybe. Okay, this is still a matter of investigation. Huh? I am learning. I cannot comment that what it is exactly, but what I'm trying to tell you that this is something where the company's management is focusing. They're finding it as a big opportunity, which I have read. Now coming to next question, where this guy asking, what is your marketing effort? And he's saying that historically, word of mouth has been your primary catalyst to drive new accounts. Let me tell you, I don't know how many of you know this, but if you open an Interactive Broker account, or you go to your account and log in, they are offering $200, like other brokers are also offering in America, for referring a client of yours, or sorry, a friend of yours. So more friends you refer, you will get $200. And that is the word of mouth publicity that I think this guy is talking about. Now he's asking, Chris is asking that what is the future marketing effort? And the future marketing effort reply he's giving is that yes, we are hiring new hires. We are looking at regional marketing around the world. And this is a very initial phase. It's in infancy still. But what he's trying to say that when you promote the product in Russian language, Chinese language, or Indian language, people associate themselves more with the brand. And I think their marketing effort is going towards the regional side. It's a good strategy. I can now go and check with a marketing expert that how does a regional marketing strategy works. If it tells me it's a great idea for any company to go as a regional marketing strategy to promote their business, then it's a plus for me also. So that's how the analyst must be thinking, and they must be having a fair idea that whether this is going to work for them or not. आगे चलते हैं, let's move forward. Yeah. Now they talk about marketing expenses currently, and he said $40 to $50 million, which is roughly, I think, a very low percentage, not even 5% of the whole revenue. Now, this is something very important, and this guy is saying that I have heard IBKR spokesman saying you are going to launch a cryptocurrency effort this summer, which is like roughly 3 to 6, 4, 5 months, I think. Now he wanted to know what is happening in the cryptocurrency area. Chris Allen, a smart guy. Now Thomas is replying in a very witty manner. Is saying, and I heard the earning call, so I'm telling you, I think it was a spokeswoman, and he said that, and then he says that look, we do not disclose anything when we are playing a game of cards. We like to have our cards close to our chest until we are ready to play. So Thomas is definitely doing something on the cryptocurrency, like a Coinbase or something. Even I know this, but what exactly he is gonna do, it will only be known in the future. Now, if it all goes well, I think there will be a jump on the price of the share, or there will be a good business on the coming on. But it's a great quality of a management which is tight-lipped to maintain the competitive advantage. And this is something I want to highlight on this earning call, that this is something what is happening. How can I sell the share at 100% growth? So this is what we don't do. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Now let's move forward. Now here he's asking, which I think I have already told you this answer. How come he said $175 million you have achieved in the equity lending? What exactly you did? And that answer he's giving here that, uh, uh, yeah. So he's saying that any stock that is difficult to borrow and therefore command a higher rate, our team goes there. Now it is just so happened that there was one and maybe a couple of other issues that had a high lending rate, and we happen to have a great deal of it. So that is the reason for that. So he's also saying, I think he's saying here that, yeah. So this could be a one-time activity because some of the stocks have a higher interest rate for borrowing. So this is what they are trying to say here. Now he's asking, we look forward, we go back to more of the run rate of last year. What is about half of that? Yeah. So he's saying, yeah, next year when you see, it should be roughly half of this run rate. It might not be 172 million or 175 million. It could be half of that run rate. Now let's see in the next quarter what happens. So this is what it is. Yeah. Now everybody is asking in the call that, Thomas, why are you so conservative about the account? You're saying we will go back to 20% year on year growth. We just now saw such a great growth. Just now, if you remember, we talked about 72% growth on the accounts, new accounts. And Thomas is saying it is 20%. Thomas is exactly giving them that what is the life cycle of an account. People open the account and then they forget to fund, then they fund a small amount, then they go for a holiday and then they come back. It took 6 months, 1 year for them to fund. A typical investment account is funded this way only. Even I have worked for a bank. People first put $10,000, then $100,000 in life. If they like it, they put in more money. We all have this tendency of getting the comfort slowly, and that's what Thomas is very well aware of, and he is going to give the life cycle. And he's also telling the guy that, look, 57,000 accounts have come from Goldman, and please understand they are a small and inactive account, so please do not add them and keep them separate. And that's what he is saying. Now the guy is saying that this guy is curiously questioning that, okay, let me remove $57,000, the $57,000 account, but it's still your numbers are elevated by historical standard anyways. Thomas said, yes, it is right. And then they are talk about this the cash and the equity capital in the company. And then Thomas is saying that I have a great idea for you, talk to our CFO. Now they all confirm that we need more money, and the reason they need more money is because when you borrow a money from them, they need to have the cash. So more the cash they need, because if we borrow on margin, like right now I think 42 billion, 40 billion roughly is what people have borrowed. So they need more cash, because then only a lot of exchanges allow them to allow their customers to borrow on behalf of their security and buy more stock, basically like a cash settlement. So that's what I think I've covered a lot here. And this is same thing I just now I told you that they need capital so that they can expand. And he's saying, I don't know how many offices I will open, but I do not have a crystal ball. So he is not giving any prediction, and he is obviously a grounded fund owner, and he's focusing on the company's execution. Now, okay, now here this is a very last, I think the important thing I want to share with you. Then lot of, so how a business works, basically a business becomes lucrative, like this low brokerage and technology brokerage platform become very lucrative. Lot of people enter and they try to take share from the different brokers. Like they would come and say lowest cost trading, copy trading, like eToro has come. Then they will say we will do social lending, like eToro comes with so many ads, I'm sure we know that. Then Robinhood will come and they will allow some account opening with 5,000 or $2,000 or something. Then the brokers will come and say there is no margin only. Then they will say we'll give you a lot of incentive to open the account. So in any industry, what happens, become lucrative, a lot of people enter. And then they enter into a phase where a crash comes in, and the regulatory requirement increases, like anything. For example, this GameStop saga, I'm sure all of you know. So regulatory requirement increases, and because of that, a lot of brokers are unable to survive, and then they consolidate with a big broker. And that's what I think the industry is in that phase right now. So they are saying the same thing here, that look, a lot of new entrants into the broker space have entered. Even some of the large competitors in the US, like a Schwab, for instance, you're seeing a pretty large number in terms of account growth, and a lot of them are just focused in the US. So a lot of people are growing. And he's asking, what kind of opportunity are you seeing in the account growth? So now he's saying, if I look at our annual report, our 5-year account growth is 27%. This is something, a good figure I want to tell you. If the accounts are growing by 27% year on year, it's a very healthy growth. It somehow saying that even the earnings should grow in this kind of what do you call fashion. So he's saying 30% expectation is possible, but I cannot say that it will increase 72% on a yearly basis. And then he says once the account is open, and so when they opened the account, they were at home, and then they had nothing to do, and then finally they got around to it. So we had a potential group of large group of people who were potentially ready, and they have all done it. So what he's saying, that we had a lot of people in pandemic who actually already opened the account, and now I don't think so there will be a fantastic growth. It will be less than 30%, and that's what he's trying to tell everybody. So this is again a very good conservative figure. Again, we have a question here, and margin balances, and he's saying your margin balances are very strong. Okay. And they're basically all-time high, but still what he's saying, this guy William is saying that your margin balances, basically the loan which people have taken to buy a stock, are very high. But he's saying still, as compared to your client equity of 300 billion, the 45 billion is very, very less. So he's saying, what is happening exactly? So what is happening on this, why people are not trading on margin? Now he has a difference in perspective. He's saying, the numbers I'm seeing are like shorter term numbers. I see margin loan expanding at a healthy rate. So I don't see if the way you see, you must have looked at some very long term numbers, right? He's asking him. And this guy is saying, I'm thinking historically. So he's actually, where do you see the number? And Thomas is now going to give him a clarity. By the way, let me tell you that when you will go to an ad of Interactive Brokers or any US brokers, you will find that Interactive Broker is the cheapest. But what they are saying, that people are calling them for coming over them for the lower interest rate. But after a week or two, they call them back and saying that I think our existing brokers have reduced our rate, so we are not coming. And that's what he's saying is the most frustrating area for me. And I do not understand why it is that we offer so lowest margin in the world and we don't have all the margin loans. And then he's saying that why is it happen? Because they are offering them. This is the cause of concern. Sorry, that is what actually he has said. And now moving for the next question. Yeah. So China is, I'm sure we all know that China is cracking on the credit. And last year, when I read the Interactive Broker report last year, then China was the growing market, because China, a lot of money had come in China, and they were opening this $50,000 account, because I think China allowed something around $100,000. And but now China is not, is cracking on the foreign brokers. And this is the cause of concern on. So every investment comes with a risk, and China is cracking down on the banks to send the money out, because they are reducing lending in China. I'm sure we know this. And even some of the bonds have defaulted in China. Today's Financial Times was telling that a lot of bonds are defaulting in China. And this were their fastest growing region, as just now I told you. And they also have a Hong Kong office. And suddenly has become practically our slowest growing region. So right now they are growing from Middle East. So look at it. This business is growing from Middle East. That's what we all are sitting at in the Middle East. So a lot of you are opening the personal account there for sure. This is how a business dynamics is. Earlier it was China and Hong Kong. Now it is Middle East, and it could be also a cause of concern. So that is what one as an analyst have to think, that what is happening in this particular region, how many accounts belong to China, what is the profitability coming from China, All that can be sent as an email as an institutional investor for these people. Now we have further. Okay, I will take this particular thing. Yeah. So here they talk about average age of the client, which is 43-year-old. So I think it's a good age in the US, and sorry, in the US they're 49, and the outside the US 43. So I think that's a good range. It is not in the hand of a very novice investor like 20, 25 or 30. It is a very healthy place to be in terms of the age profile of the customer. So now somebody's asked about the long-term capital gain tax, etc. And there's a possible change in the method of compensating shareholders, etc. So all this is the big thing is available. It really takes a lot of time of us to go through one report. And then somebody's asking about the buyback, and he's saying, no, we are not doing the buyback because the float is very small. Let me explain you float also. By the way, 77%, or let's say more than 77% is owned by Thomas Petrify itself. This company is very closely held, and only 21.8% is available in the share market to buy and sell. So, from that perspective, it's actually a small cap. So, it is giving a picture of a large cap where you have a sufficient sort of stability. But from the float perspective, it's a very small float. So, a lot of institution cannot buy in billions. So, roughly 28 into 21, which is roughly $5 to $6 billion float is available. That is the only thing people can buy and sell. So that is what this is something also one can learn. Now, okay, he's saying, are you considering cutting a dividend? He said, no, I'm not going to cut the dividend also. That's also very clear. Yeah. Now, this is what I think competing on the pricing he is mentioning here. Yeah. Yeah. And the same thing which I replied to you earlier, Thomas is replying that we are the lowest margin rate. We don't see them being matched, even though I understand why you see they're not matching them, because the people do not go to them every time. And so basically a lot of customers are unaware. I'll give you a very simple example. I have a customer and he had an HDFC bank loan. Even the big bank like HDFC is not reducing the loan interest rate. That is what this guy is saying. Thomas is saying that people are not paying attention to the leverage rate they are paying, and the way the time they approach them, that is the time they go back to their providers, and then they reduce the interest rate. And that's how they say they wouldn't want to cut the branch. They're sitting on by lowering margin because they're lending money at 6 7 8% at incredibly lucrative rate. But what happened then after 2 weeks later, when they call them, why are you not opening the account with us as an institution, and then say that the much lower rate has already matched. So what he's saying that in other words, these people are not cutting the headline rates, but they will negotiate. So what he's trying to say that this is not the competitive place. This is not the place where we think we have an edge, because even the other brokers are meeting the interest rates. That's what he's saying. So I think all done. Last question, if we would like to look at on the earning report, that he said how many accounts growth are we experiencing in the future? He said 30%. This guy Craig is saying, "Oh, you said 30% so fast," and Thomas says, "I think about this all the time. So even if I do answer quickly, it is a very thought through answer." What he's trying to say here that my complete focus is increasing the new accounts, and I think that's the great thing. The chairman at the age of 70 plus is only thinking of how to increase new accounts, which is basically from where the growth will come. So I think that's my interpretation of earning report, which I wanted to share with you. I am open to questions if you have any. So my summary of the whole thing is that the management is very conservative. They're not going to pay the dividends in terms of the increasing the dividends. They have a lot of cash. They need more cash. The growth is going to come. They have also talked about something on the cryptocurrency effort, which means that the company needs more money because they want to expand further. So it's a growth stock. So even at a let's say 100% growth, somebody should not think of selling it. Then the point comes in that if the interest rate goes up, which I think all of us can see because inflations are going up, which means they will be benefited in terms of their net interest margin. One great thing they have done in terms of security lending, they have found a lot of difficult companies to lend. I showed you on my presentation with going to that particular what you call page, that how you can check what is the interest rate one can earn if they will allow interactive brokers to lend their stocks. That's one. The product is fantastic. They are bringing a lot of tools, as what they have said. One should check on their own whether the tool are fantastic or not. Since we are the consumer of this company, we feel that the product is superior. And yes, we do not have an experience of all the other companies. Then coming to the interest rate, they also said, the management also said that not everything is a permanent, and we'll see a lot of different numbers. And they stick to the conservative estimate. They found very confident, and that's how the earning calls are a great place to understand how the stock might do in the future. We also tell you that if you are a short-term trader, you can look at the name of the analyst after the earning call, and you can check what they're predicting. And if you find five of them are saying good about the company, so that's how you can actually go back and buy the share for short term. We're not recommending it. We are not a short term this thing. The trader, the chairman himself attended the meeting, which is a very good thing. They answered and they took each and every questions, and I think they had a great grasp what I understood from this, and it's a great diversified company. But I don't think so that growth has slowed down and the share price will just be here. I think from this earning call, people like me should be more optimistic. On that note, I think I'm done. We have 6 minutes left. I would love to take your questions. Please ask.
Yeah, you can either post your questions in the chat box, or you can unmute and you can ask one directly.
So I think I took up to 5:15, I would have said, but sorry, I took 10 minutes more. So I think 5:30 we'll wrap it up. Yeah. So I think Sachin, you have asked a question on shorting. Sachin, you there?
Yeah, Bhuvan, I'm here. Yeah, I had put it in the chat so that you could answer at your convenience.
So Sachin, the difference in the shorting, basically what happened, a broker makes money from various ways. So one way is that they make money through when you buy sell a share, there's a what do you call, brokerage they charge you, which you can go and check. Then the second way they make money by when you will basically borrow from them. So let's say I have $100,000 and I want to buy a stock worth $120,000. So I will borrow $20,000, which you can again go and check through margin rates. Now, let's say I don't want to borrow, but people want to borrow, and they want to borrow and short the stock. They don't want to borrow and buy the stock. Now, to short the stock, somebody should be ready to sell the stock. Now, even if you sell the stock, you can only short what you own. So let's say I am owning these stocks and I am willing to help somebody and I am willing to lend the stock. I am not selling my stock because I'm long forever. But I'm okay to lend the stock to somebody who want to short the stock in order to get some interest. And that is what is called shorting of the stocks. So then what happened, I inform interactive broker that I'm okay to uh, uh, use my stock as collateral. Interactive broker will then keep that in mind and add in that screen which you just now saw. So to repeat here, they see, if you can see, total 700,000 quantities are available for this stock, because only this much, some of them investors are ready to basically lend their stocks. Then some people who are very bearish on the stock, they will borrow from here, pay the borrow interest of 17% and short the stock because they are bearish. That's what I mentioned in the what do you call about SLB, security and lending borrowing business. Why we mentioned this? Why I showed
my question was as to what is this like current fee rate? It's different, like where you showed a sum of 0.25, some were like 17.3639. So I mean, why is that difference? Is it because of who decides this, and why is that difference?
Right.
More on that.
Very good question. I will just give you a guesstimate of this. 99% Interactive Brokers decides it, because they are the one who are taking the risk, because you are not taking any risk when you are you are ready to help anybody to borrow this. So Interactive Broker is assessing the risk, and 17.3 is for a company which is 4 months old. So Gem Integrated Shipping came 5 months back. Now, when I go to a company called Dinos, which is old company, I find the rates are different. So this is the magic which they have found, the management has found, and it's my guesstimate, because last year they lost $500 million because margin interest rates have gone down. And as I told you that their main, every broker and banker is the main business is the interest margin. So what they did is they found a lot of companies which people want to borrow, but it was not available, and then they made it available on their platform. So how they did it, how it happened is a great learning question for any analyst or people like us. So they got them on the portal. Now let's say if I can see, oh wow, I can short Denos because I can borrow 700,000 quantity, or I can borrow Zim. So this is what they have done. So they have got a lot of stocks on their database. In fact, the screen before this screen was I will
Basically coming back to demand and supply. Is that
so that is one. Yeah. So basically, anytime you want to short, now the server is down. I can't show you, but I'm sure. Yeah. I can't show you that screen now. In fact, when I was reading the annual report, so I went there. So I can tell you more about it if you are interested. So they've increased the number of stocks which can be borrowed, and it's very hard to borrow, and that's why they are commanding a higher premium, and that has laid down to the increase in the income on the SLB function, which is $182 million. Okay.
thanks, Bhuvan. Yeah, got that.
Next question in the chat. So I think I have no questions here. I've gone really deep in this. If you have any further question, I'll be happy to take. I hope I have not. It was a very technical session, but the point I'm trying to draw is that one has to learn the more about the business than just buying and selling a share, because there's a lot to learn actually. Any further question, guys? We have time.
And Bhuvan, like we had some people who joined and we have no idea who, so there are still some of them. If they can identify themselves at least in a private message to you, it'll be good.
Yeah, please let me know on WhatsApp chat. Thank you for joining in, but it's very important for us to know that who you are, and maybe we can connect with you later. That's very, I think, really important.
Yeah, we can keep you updated on the future webinars. Like some of you, we have no idea who you are, and it'll be great if you can give us your contact details.
Any further question? And should I just hang it there?
I think it's one. Oh, Sachin.
Again?
Yeah. Thanks, Sachin. Yeah.
Yeah. So Sachin, I do not go through each earning call necessarily, but yes, in 99% I go through them, because it's very important to understand. I think what I'm doing right now is doing the same thing. I've gone through this earning call. I have gone through the case of my majority shares holding, where I have a lot of expectation and my mind is totally dedicated towards that. This is very important, because if I will see a lot of people come and tell me that the share has gone 10 times, 5 times, 4 times, or let's say the share has gone 50%. What are you doing? Why you're not selling? So in fact, one more thing I would like to point out here is that we have gone through Jilly earning call. And what we found is that they have said at least 4 to 5 times sorry. I could be completely wrong in saying that sorry is just it's a very common thing, but it's very important to understand the tone of the management, how apologetic they are, or how conservative they are, and how close to their business they are. I think this is my sense. So any investor should go through the earning call first. I will tell you why I go through the earning calls with my team. First of all, it is not just the money making. See, money making is a very boring process. Now, I invest in a stock. Tomorrow it become 50% half. One person will tell me sell it. I will not sell it. Second person will tell me sell it. I will not sell it. After 10% will tell me sell it, I will think like, oh my God, what stock I bought. Unless I have the great knowledge of the business, I will also become panic as a team and I'll press the button, which people have done in the past. So once I know the business, I have so much confidence that even at the price, this kind of price, I will be buying more. So the idea to present here itself is that please avoid individual equities if you are not having the patience to go through these earning calls. For me, they are very interesting because every now and then I am learning. Today, I've learned a lot about interactive broker. In fact, the full last 1 week, I'm reading about it. My team has learned a lot about interactive brokers. And yet we can tell you we know only 10% of interactive brokers right now. So I think thanks for your comment.
Bhuvan, I completely agree. And I mean, it gives the leadership direction, which is the most important in this. Yeah, stocks to a large extent like vary with the speculation and the investor sentiments, but this is something which actually gives the direction of this. So I'm glad you took up the session, and I never get this time. So I'm happy that you do this for your clients.
The thing is, why you should give it. See, it's very. In fact, I want to tell this. Now, last 2 or 3 days have gone haywire in the stock market. Okay, it had no value add, for any long-term investor. I don't know why people think that in property they will keep it forever. In fact, yesterday somebody came here and one Sindhi client is here, so he said, Dada, how is diamond investment? So he said diamond is forever, which means you should, once you buy the diamond, keep it forever. There is no value, right? So what I'm trying to say here is that on the diamond, gold, real estate, we do not want to even touch and look at them. Even if I will talk about gold, I think the fight will happen. But when it comes to stock market, we are only interested in price. 10%, 15% we make it, we want to exit. I don't know why, because this is the only place which is more similar to business. In fact, the stock market is a derivative of business, and we all have made maximum money either in the business or working for these businesses. This is what we are trying to do, Sachin, here, that we want to tell people that yes, it's a boring business, but you make it exciting by reading books and earning calls. And if you can't read it, then you have a lot of these managers who have the stake. For example, I have the biggest stake. If the stock market goes down, I am the biggest loser because I lose the performance on all my investors as a company, and we all might lose our year-end bonus also. The whole point is that if by this presentation they will go to the website where they are handling a stock of their own and download the earning report and read it, or otherwise they will say, boss, this is not for me. I think now I have understood I should not be punting on the stock. That's the whole idea. So I think we'll call it a day. It's a very technical session, I can understand. And we will see you next month with Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway's annual conference, our understanding how he sees the market. Thanks a lot and have a great evening. And I thoroughly enjoyed with you, and you will have the recording and you'll have the PDF for your viewing. Thank you. Thank you, Padmapriya. Thank you, Shilpa. Thank you, Gulshan. Thank you, the whole Client First Capital and Asia team for making it.
Yeah, thanks, Bhuvan. It was a very lovely session. Thanks, everyone, for having been there.
Thank you. Thank you, Sanjay. Thank you, Sudhir. Thank you, Pawan. Thank you, Praveen. Thank you, Mr. Manwani. Thank you, Sujit. You may log off. We'll see you on the road. Thank you, Mr. Hemant. And thank you, the best person. Yes. Okay. I'm logging off now. Thanks.